Welcome to the Elite Performance Team podcast. Dominic Perillo and Dr. Jan Kaspowitz produce podcasts weekly with information in health and wellness, as well as very special guests. If this is your first time listening, thanks for listening. If you like our content, you can find more information on Facebook or subscribe to us on YouTube or iTunes. Today we have Jonathan Schwartz with us. Jonathan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, Dom. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a while since I've been here.
May the Schwartz be with you, sir.
May the Schwartz be with you. I haven't heard that one yet. So I live in Jersey, grew up in Long Island. I was a collegiate golfer growing up. That's my passion. That's what I did for most of my adult and childhood life. I work as an insurance consultant for New York Life Insurance, which gives me a good amount of freedom as far as flexibility in my schedule to do what I really love doing now. So, now golfer turned runner turned triathlete.
Nice.
Yeah.
What made you start on your endurance training journey?
So, as I said, I was a golfer growing up, and back in December of 2012, I had the first of my 2 brain surgeries. And after the surgery, what I found out was the only side effect, for lack of a better word, was when I looked straight down, I had double vision. So obviously playing golf all of a sudden became a challenge.
Sure.
And I learned that I could play with an eye patch on, but I had no depth perception. So it became like starting completely over. I had to reteach myself. And I got back to playing well. The problem was it became like work. It wasn't enjoyable, it wasn't fun, and that's all I did. And I went back to the surgeon and I said, I want to do one of the Spartan races. And he said to me, yeah, you can't do that.
How old were you at this time?
I was 39. So he said, yeah, you can't do that. And I said, why not? He said, well, the running's fine, but the running and the lifting and the obstacles, there was a piece of the cyst that ruptured that was still in my head. And he said it could move. And if it moves, it could cause a seizure or a stroke. And I said, okay, well, that's not going to happen then. And I had a good friend who was a runner, and he said, you should start running. And I said, yeah, I have no desire at all to run. I played soccer growing up. I hated running. Golf was my thing. Didn't want to run. And he said, pick a race and start training for it, and I will help you. And so in the idea of go big or go home, I signed up for the Ridgewood 10K that year. It was May of 13. Ran the 10K. Miserable training the entire time. Ran the 10K though, and as he promised me, when I crossed the finish line, my son was 4 at the time, I guess, and my wife were waiting there, and I was hooked. And that was the beginning. I signed up for a half marathon the minute I came home that day. Did my
Which
first, the Run the Reservoir,
Oh, okay.
which was Labor Day that year. Did that, and then went on to run 12 more half marathons in the next 2 years.
Were you ready with running with the De Novo Harriers?
So I started running with the De Novo Harriers as I started marathon training. I met someone online for the porta potty, because that's where you meet people at races,
Absolutely.
right? And she was part of North Jersey Masters. And I was with them for about 6 months before meeting Rob McCarthy, who coached me, and then we founded the Harriers. So I started running, set my sights on the New York City Marathon, which I never thought I would do. I did the 9+1 to get in. It was, tough, a lot of not having my schedule, but having to go on their schedule. But I knew that was the one, if I was going to do, I wanted to do that one, because it was local and it was New York after all. And I got in, and it was great. It was a great experience. My whole family was there. As my wife, she will tell you, it was the worst experience from a spectator standpoint.
What year did you do New York City?
I did New York City in 2016. So it was perfect weather. I remember I ran in a singlet. It was just ideal. I kept hearing the nightmare stories about being cold in Staten Island at the port.
Logistics a little crazy.
And it was actually perfect. All the stuff that I brought with me that everyone said, your blankets and sweatshirts and pullovers, didn't need any of it.
That's excellent.
So it was awesome.
I was very fortunate that I won the lottery 2 years in a row.
Really?
2009, 2010. I won the lottery for New York City.
Should have gone and played the real lottery after that.
I know,
right?
I do, and I know even that.
Okay.
So
there you go.
there was my luck.
There you go. That's a lucky one though.
For sure.
But yeah, so I finished the marathon and had severe postpartum. I didn't know if that was going to be it, but I really, after I finished, I didn't know what to do with myself. Rob was coaching me, and I said, I'm lost. I don't wanna run, I didn't even wanna go outside to run. And, I had a good friend who was a Harrier, who was a triathlete. She said, oh, you should try this. And I'm like, well, if you teach me to swim without drowning, I'm in. And I started, I met people at RTA, and I started talking to them, and signed up for my first triathlon in June of 17, it would have been.
How was your first experience in the swim? Because that's usually the biggest roadblock for people getting into triathlon.
It was, and when I first started swimming, what I found was I belonged to Lifetime, and I would swim 25 yards and be completely winded. And didn't understand how that could possibly be. I just run a marathon, and here I am, and I can't breathe. And I actually started taking swimming lessons at Lifetime. They do it at group lessons, and no one else showed up, so I had private lessons for 6 weeks.
Fantastic.
So it was awesome. And I got more comfortable swimming, and I wasn't being coached by anyone. I was doing it all by myself. And I was supposed to do the sprint in June, the Lincoln Park Tri. It was the end of June, and that's what I signed up for. And in, I guess, March of 17, I started getting headaches again. And I go every year to be monitored for the cyst that they removed, and they found it coming back in 14 or 15, I guess, 15. And I went to the doctor and I said, you know, headaches are bad, and something's definitely wrong. And they did all the scans necessary, and the neurologist said to me, so it looks like the cyst is back, and it's doubled in size between December and April.
Benign?
Benign. It was benign. I was probably born with it the first time. It was called the dermoid. And so she said, you need to see the surgeon. And I went and saw the surgeon in April, and he said, look, it needs to come out now. You know, we knew this would come, we just didn't realize it would be this fast. And I said to him, you know, you promised me I could do a triathlon. And I was signed up and I'm ready to go. And he said, well, you're done now. He's like, you can swim for the next 6 weeks before the surgery, but no running, no biking, no lifting, this is it. And I said, okay, then we need to have a conversation. And he looked at me and he said, of course we did. And I said, so if you're gonna operate again, you need to let me do whatever I want when I recover. He looked at me and he said, okay, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do a half Ironman. And the nurse practitioner, who didn't really know me yet, looked at me and said, let me understand this. You've never done a triathlon at all, and you want to do this thing that sounds like it's bad. And so I walked her through it. I said, oh, it's, you know, it's 1.2 mile swim, 56 miles on the bike, and then a half marathon. And she just looked at me, and the doctor looked at her and said, he'll be fine, he'll do it. And so I started, you know, recovered from the surgery quickly the second time because I was in shape, and the doctor said I would. And did Maine 13 months in a day after the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah. So never looked back after that.
And God gave you credit though, you know, you put a plan together, you had a goal together, and then do everything to achieve your goal. Fantastic.
That's great.
So, yeah.
When things get tough, how do you keep yourself motivated?
So it's actually not as hard as I expected. I keep myself motivated. I have a soon-to-be 11-year-old son who is hands down my biggest fan and my biggest supporter. So I know that he's always looking, and I know he's watching, and I know he knows that the example that I'm trying to set for him is important, so that keeps me motivated. I also am on the board of a charity called Jack Martin Fund, which raises money for pediatric oncology at Mount Sinai Hospital in the city. And every race that I've done, long race, I've always raised money for them. So when things are really tough, especially when it's a long run, more so than anything else, because that seems to be when I get down on myself, I always think of the kids and what it does, and I've been to the facility numerous times, and it's just an incredible charity. And so I always think about that and why I'm doing it. So between that and my son, it's not hard for me to stay motivated, and you know, he loves it. He trains with me now, and it's easy.
Now your son Jordan, is he following your footsteps with golf as well?
So yeah, so he plays golf, and that's definitely his best sport of all the things he does. He's got a good game, he's got the good temperament, he enjoys it, and there's a lot of natural ability, so he loves it. But he started running with me, and he did his first kids triathlon back in September and loved it.
What's he like the most, the swim, the bike, or the run?
That's a good question. I would think that he likes to run the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did first. He plays soccer, and every day I coach a soccer team, so every practice we make them run, you know, a couple of kilometers around the field that we play at, and I think he enjoys that the most. because that's what he's most comfortable with.
What do you enjoy the most in triathlon?
I enjoy the bike the most. I'm enjoying the swim more. I had a tough year last year with panic attacks in the water. So I did after Connecticut, leading up to Connecticut, I had a couple of cramping issues and then panic attacks in the water because of the cramping. And in Connecticut, it was a delayed swim, and they shortened it because of fog. And you know, Ironman does the 2x2 rolling start,
Right.
and they abandoned that, so it was like a jailbreak when we went in, and I got kicked in the head like 10 times.
A
Lot of feet.
Lot of feet and fists.
Kicked in the head like 10 times in the first 50 meters. And my coach, Mike, swam with me. And he tried to get me to open water, and he said, even when I got you to open water, you wouldn't put your head down. And the folks from RTA Triathlon, Chris and Elizabeth, were at the finish line. And they said to me, you know, we do the open water swim clinics, which I had done with them. And Elizabeth looked at me and she said, you have to come. She said, not an option. And I was doing Wyckoff 2 weeks later. And I went to the one swim clinic and got it out of my system, and went to Wyckoff and PR'd by almost 25 minutes.
That's the world championship in Wyckoff.
The world championship.
Bergen County.
Bergen County
Yep.
World
Yep,
Championship.
that's it. But I had almost this 5-minute PR in the water.
That's
Wow,
excellent.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
in a short
really
swim.
This
So,
guy, you got coached by Chris and Elizabeth?
Chris and Elizabeth just, you know, RTA does these open water swim clinics.
Sure.
So I went to that. Mike Curcio coaches me, but the RTA family is like the Harrier family. You know, they're ridiculously supportive. They're always there, and they're always out of the big races. And they're
Yeah, we
always
had
there.
Chris here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Outstanding, he's a very good coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're great.
When you had trouble doing the 25-yard swim in the pool the first time, what was the issue?
I was just tired. I mean, I
tired.
couldn't believe how exhausting it was. And my son was at day camp at the time, and they do a deep water test at day camp before they can go in the big pool. And my wife would look at me and she'd say, I don't understand, you know, he can run 3 miles with you, but he swims 2 laps in the pool and he's exhausted.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, oh my God, completely different muscles, different stamina, different animal altogether.
The reason why I ask is I had a similar issue. So I'd done a marathon, and I was trying to swim. I couldn't swim a lap in the pool, and I couldn't understand it. It really made no sense. So I was swimming in Rutherford Pool, a YMCA attached to high school, and one of the people, I kind of knew him, but he was one of the lifeguards. He said, I don't understand. You're so fit. Why can't you make it to this? I said, I don't know. Why don't you watch me? I was holding my breath.
Yeah.
I wasn't breathing.
Yeah,
at all.
that's a big
So
one.
I could only
Right.
I could only get to the
Absolutely.
other side, and then I couldn't come back. I had to rest. So I was curious if you had the same.
No, I had no problem. I mean, I swam as a kid. I had no problem with the breathing. I exhaled under the water. It was a weird thing.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have difficulty too. I found reading and watching the total immersion videos helped out a lot. So basically
Yeah.
it teaches you like when you're in trouble, how to get onto your back and get really relaxed so this way you're not panicking and the water nowhere near as much.
Yeah, and you know, at the swim clinics, Chris and Elizabeth Chris always said, you know, if you panic, you're in a wetsuit. You just roll over and basically sit,
Yeah.
and you'll be fine. And it's true. But you know, big open water. And the funny thing is, my first half was in Maine, which is in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's fine now though.
Good.
But yeah.
What have you learned over the last 7 years since your first surgery?
So I'd say the biggest thing I've learned is that I can do anything, and when times get tough, I can still push through it. You know, I'm fortunate to have a coach, and they always say, you know, you have coaches whose personalities are similar to yours, and I don't know that I could have worked with anybody else other than Mike, because he definitely pushes me.
Yeah, I know Mike. Mike was a patient of ours too. He's a unique individual.
That's one way of putting it.
He's a unique individual. He's highly motivated, which is excellent too.
Yeah.
And it seems like he can build rapport with people. Like he doesn't seem judgmental. He seems more empathetic and just willing to help.
He is. I mean, he's willing to help, and he put together a plan to get me to the starting line at Maine, healthy and happy, but most importantly, healthy. And I remember towards the end of training for Maine, it was pouring out, and a bunch of us who were training for Maine had a long ride to do. And there was a place in Wyckoff called the Paint Cave Cycling, that did it at the Wyckoff Y. And they had 11 Wahoo kickers, and they said, first come, first serve, we're gonna put the main course up on whatever system they were using, and you can come ride. And I remember going, and Mike was there because he was doing Maine. And I remember probably about 2 hours into the ride, I was riding next to somebody, and he said, "Oh, what do you have on the calendar for tomorrow?" And I said, "I have 13 800-meter repeats at like 7-minute pace." And the guy looked at me and goes, "What?" He said, "Who is telling you to do that?" And I looked down the row and I said, "The lunatic at the end would be the one telling me to do that." But I got faster the whole time. I mean, I PR'd at 5K, I PR'd at half marathon, I PR'd at 10K distances. So I got substantially faster. So I never questioned what he told me to do.
Sure.
He always had my back. He always pushes me. He knows, it's almost like he knows how hard he can push without killing me, which I always joke with him. I said, "You can't kill me because my wife will kill you." But he's great. He is definitely motivated. I'm the only one who's coaching right now, and I love it. It's, you know, I have access to him, but he knows what he's doing.
The cool
So it's
thing
great.
is he went out there with you in the Connecticut race.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was huge. I mean, I didn't know, we didn't talk about that beforehand. We had never discussed that he was gonna stay with me. I mean, he knew what had happened earlier at the Jersey Man Tri, and he literally stayed with me by my side. And we actually have a great picture of us coming out onto the bikes with him right in front of me at a transition. And my wife looked at the picture. She's like, it's like a papa duck leading his baby duck out onto the bike course. So he's a good guy. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So since your surgeries, what changes have you made in your life?
So I don't really play golf anymore.
Right.
That's a big one, which was hard for me at first because that's all I knew. But my son is the only one I'll still play golf with. And I have friends that I've met over the years that heard I was a good golfer and I just won't do it. But Jordan loves it, so I still play with him. I definitely eat much cleaner than I did. My wife will tell you I was having a child in the house at all times. Before any of this started, our pantry consisted of Hostess cupcakes and Twinkies and Pop-Tarts, and we didn't have a kid at the time. It was just, that's what I ate.
Sure.
And you know, it was one of those things that I could eat whatever I wanted. I was blessed with a fast metabolism. I don't gain weight. And when I started training, I realized that whatever I ate really changed how I